I'm Jeanette Keynes from Jewelry Arts Inc. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to bezel set a rose cut stone. Look at that. So that's the ring that we were soldering together 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
However long ago it was. But see how beautiful that looks? Fantastic. So really we're at the point now where we're getting ready to set. And we're going to have to raise it up because our stone, this is tourmaline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this lovely rose cut tourmaline, which is covered in wax, so the color doesn't look so beautiful at this exact moment. But when all the wax is off of it, it will be a lovely sparkly stone. So we were talking before, like, we're going to need to raise it up a bit because, for example, it'll probably be in there more or less just a little bit, you know, just like that inside of there. Do you see what I'm saying? So it needs to come up a good bit.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, a rose cut stone, the bezel just needs to come above the girdle right there just a little bit. So it needs to come up. So either a relatively thick wire, like a 16 gauge or something, or just make an inner bezel, you know, whatever floats your boat. But then we'll put it in, we'll put the mylar on the bottom, and then we'll stick it in and we'll just check it.
Okay.
And we'll, of course, wipe all that wax off so that it looks pretty. Okay? So I thought 16 gauge was about right, but then when I went and pulled it out, I thought about your bezel, and if you look at that, that's not going to be enough.
Right.
I usually don't make my inner bezel out of wire if it's any thicker than 14 because it just is too hard to shape. So in this case, I think we're going to have to bite the bullet and make an inner bezel.
Okay.
Do you have your dividers?
I need to buy dividers. I know.
I'm going to do Mike. His brain fell down.
Two people are texting right now.
And two people are talking in.
So, because when you hold the stone up, it's going to need to be basically about right there. You see what I mean? Like the outside bezel is going to be just above that girdle. So what I can do then by visualizing, going like, okay, that's where that needs to go. I can take my dividers and sort of go, oh, okay, that's probably more or less how high my inner bezel needs to be. There's always a little bit of adjusting, but that should be good.
Okay.
So you have this strip here already, which is fine. So you can take this and cut a strip, okay, and then just anneal it, and we'll fit it in there, and we'll come back and we'll check on you, basically. But that's how I figure it out, by just looking at it.
Okay.
It's guesstimation, really. Okay. Essentially, now we're ready to set. I'm going to pull the stone out just so you can see what's in there and what we did, which was basically we have some shiny mylar at the very bottom to reflect the light, and we made a little inner bezel out of 26 gauge fine silver. See? To hold the stone up at the correct height. Now, in a ring like this, we could have taken the bezel down a little bit, but because of the way the bezel fits down into the ring shank, you wouldn't want to remove too much bezel, because then you would start to run into the shank itself when you tried to set. So when you're doing something like this, just remember you have to have enough bezel height left above that you can actually still set it. So keep that in mind. Because sometimes people get carried away with, like, I want a really low bezel, which is fine, but remember the bezel serves a purpose and we need it. You know what I mean? So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna use my high-tech cleaning equipment to clean the stone off, and we're gonna start setting. But I mean, otherwise it's gonna be very much like setting a cabochon, you know, north, south, east, west, sets of opposing presses, work our way around. We're gonna use the bezel roller, you know, from my master setting tool set. Very convenient of you to lay it out beautifully like that. Because, you know, rose cut stones are really very easy to set because the widest part is at the bottom, so they don't need a lot of bezel, and it's not very hard to hold them in place because instead of them being quite straight up and down, they usually have quite a bit of slope. So it's really easy, in other words, to like catch them in the bezel. They don't need a lot to hold them in place really well. So I'll just get it started, but you know, your normal procedure, put your tool in the palm of your hand with your thumb and your forefinger on either side like that. Make sure to have your elbow in the air because you know you want your tool to be at a 45-degree angle to the top of the bezel. I usually put my thumb or my forefinger on the stone to keep it from ejecting, essentially. Okay, and I'm gonna press in. You see what I mean? Right here, 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 here. And it's just gonna be sets of opposing presses, and then we'll start kind of rolling our way around. You know, just smooth it out side to side. So you see, press in, you could do a little side to side. Okay, and make sure you keep a finger on the stone, because until it's held in place, it can very easily just pop out.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
So look how good that looks. Looks fantastic. What I was just explaining is that we need to do a little bit more, because if you look closely, there's just a tiny bit of space still between the stone and the bezel. But this is that, you know, high up from the top, you know, like so. And basically, I just tilt the tool outward enough that I'm not hitting the stone. So basically, as straight up and down as is possible while not smacking the stone. Now, I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you feel a lot better. You would think doing this is super risky, right? And it's easy to break your stone. Almost nobody ever breaks their stone doing this. I'm not saying that means you can just like, you know what I mean? Like not look,
Yeah.
but you will be fine.
Okay.
Okay? So, just like so. Because all we're doing is closing that little tiny gap between the bezel and the stone.
Okay.
You know? Like, I mean, it's not moving anymore. It's not going anywhere. But we just want to like seal. You see like right over in there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's just that little bit of space.
Okay.
So it's going to make it look beautiful and delicious. So your angle nice and high. Okay, okay, that's it. And then you'll be done and we'll polish. Okay. So you see that? Looks beautiful. So essentially what we're going to do now is just a little polishing on the top, but that looks fantastic. Oh yeah, excellent. I love a rose cut. What's not to like, you know? So it is inconvenient that it doesn't fit me, but so you see, we hammered a little from the top. We used one of the wheels from the Bezel Settings polishing kit. I mean, look how beautiful that looks. Of course, I have to put everything on. I'm immediately like, oh, hello.
Wait, could you do a pinky ring?
Yes, it could be a pinky ring. Isn't that lovely? And you see, we fit it all down in from the side. So, I mean, I just think there's nothing that I would change. It looks lovely. And that's that. Now it goes off to the client. You get more gold. The cycle of life continues. Yeah, you did a really great job. It's really very nice. Okay. Yay.